The open road was calling to me. I had just plopped into the driver's side, getting ready to head home from watching a local high school basketball game with my best friend. Now, mind you, this was no ordinary vehicle. It was my pride and joy. My baby, you might say. A 1967 Chevy Impala, a gift from my parents to me when I turned 16 many moons ago. My 26th birthday was coming up in about a month, our 10-year anniversary of being together. It's just a car, you might say, but this blue beauty was all I had to call my own lately since my wife and I had separated. The drive back to my cramped little apartment was a little over 20 miles, a straight shot south on a two-way highway that stretched through southern Wisconsin to northern Illinois. The whole trip only took about 30 minutes if I kept up at the posted speed limit, with occasionally getting stuck behind a truck or two until the opportunity arose to pass it up. On this night, the sun had set early, and the going was a bit slower than usual as somewhat dense fog had rolled in, which does happen around here from time to time. If you've ever come up this way, you know the landscape changes quite a bit from flat farmland to overbearing hills and even rocky cliffs as well. I was about 10 minutes into my trip when I noticed in my side mirror a car that had passed me going the opposite direction suddenly slowed down and turned around to now head in my direction. Now, I was hanging around 40 miles per hour due to fog still, so all I could see were the two headlights that were now coming up behind me at an ever-increasing accelerated rate. Soon, the other car was almost on top of me, but I still couldn't make out much beyond the brightness of the headlights. The other driver then began to honk his horn incessantly. Given the only response that I could muster, I tried to signal him in the rearview mirror to go around me while throwing my one hand up as if to non-verbally say, "What do you want from me?" He continued to honk, and soon I could see him waving both his hands frantically at me. I didn't know what this person wanted, and I was growing increasingly concerned about what might happen if I pulled over. With no other cars on the highway except for us at the moment, the other driver sped up to get right beside me. I saw through the window he was just some ordinary-looking guy, no one I had ever remembered meeting before or recognized. He was now repeatedly pointing with his index finger at something, pointing up towards the top of my car. Again, I threw my hands up, mouthing, "What?" That was until we passed a streetlight that, with its dim orange glow, I could now see what the other driver had been seeing. On top of my car, I could see the reflection of the other car's window as we passed another light. Was a man. I looked over once more at the other driver. We now shared the same look of shock and disbelief on our faces. I quickly turned to face the road once more and just stared in a daze for what seemed a few minutes. I then did the first thing I could think of. I put the accelerator to the floor and gunned it up to 60. Not second-guessing myself after that, I quickly slammed on my brakes as I witnessed the man, or whatever it was, fly over the hood and disappear into the darkness ahead of me. The other driver kept going. Can't say I blame him. It would have been nice to tell him thank you at least. I watched as he sped off into the night, his taillights disappearing soon enough. I backed up a bit and then decided to take a closer look at what lay before me. It was laying still, on its back with its limbs flayed out in all directions. Upon closer inspection, using what light my headlights provided, I could see it had no hair on its head. Actually, it didn't seem to have any hair on its body at all, with its skin more albino color than human looking. I safely determined it was definitely in the humanoid class of monster, compared to looking human from my first glance earlier. At that point, it still hadn't moved, and thinking it was probably dead from the impact, I decided to just go around it and finish heading home. I thought about calling the police or highway patrol, but I wasn't sure I could explain what had happened to them without sounding drunk or insane. Putting the car back into drive, I slowly crept past, not taking my eyes off of it. Once I had safely passed it, I sped up with the thing quickly becoming a blur in my rearview mirror. I can only hope that if someone else found it, that it was truly dead, and that his body on the highway would be called in and taken care of by the proper authorities. I got home not soon afterwards and decided to park on the street in front of my apartment building instead of in the garage. I quickly crashed into my bed and fell asleep. I was spared from having any nightmares that night about horrific-looking creatures hiding under the cover of darkness. The next morning I awoke to the sound of the front doorbell and persistent knocking. When I answered, 2 uniformed officers were there to greet me. To my surprise, I was asked if I had heard any strange noises or had seen anything out of the ordinary last night. I said no, of course, and when I asked why, they told me that a young couple walking their dog last night in this neighborhood were attacked by what they could only describe as an animal. The couple survived with minor injuries, but apparently the dog was lost to this animal. The officers thanked me for my cooperation and recommended that I keep a close watch on any pets I might have. When they left, I walked over to my car to examine it for any signs of what I had witnessed last night. Oddly enough, there were none. It was like the thing was never there. Was it possible that thing survived and then somehow tracked me home? Did it attack those people and kill their dog? It was then I noticed something on the ground that I had not seen earlier, and I'm guessing the officers hadn't seen it earlier either. I saw 2 sets of long claw marks on the pavement. Claw marks that led away from underneath my car. The creature I saw last night had no claws.